Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
You remember the first computer you ever brought home?
Well, I'm not sure it would be considered a computer, but I did. It was the Atari game.
Well, you consider that a computer, yeah?
I did
Kinda?
at the time. Yeah, you just couldn't input into it.
You
although
play it with
Atari,
a joystick.
although Atari did come out with a computer too.
Yeah, we just never got it.
We had like a VIC 20.
No, Grandpa
Commodore
had the
64.
Yeah, this is my dad, and he's visiting in town for Gnome Decks, my annual conference. We just finished the 7th one, and Dad's been helpful. My parents have been a staple of the Gnome Decks conference, I think, pretty much from the beginning, except you guys weren't at 4 in Tahoe, but I don't like counting that as a Gnome Decks. I strict that from canon. I've got the chat room that's scrolling up. I've currently got it on zoomed in on the big screen on the Mac, so Dad's like sucked into the chat room right now, and you're all talking about Atari. But do you remember the first, like, we had the Commodore 64, but then the computer you brought home for work?
Oh, I had an IMSI, IMSAI, which was just a 64K, and it was gigantic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was big. And then the printer was a teletype printer.
Yeah.
That they used for like stock quotes, actually. But it would basically print a line each time it would print a line at a time.
Like a dot matrix printer.
Yeah. Well, not a matrix. It was
almost
like a typewriter. Yeah.
Dot matrix printer.
It was loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, didn't you bring home one that had used green white paper, alternating green white paper?
Bar
Was that
paper.
the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did that for accounting. All it would do was accounting work. It had accounting software. And you used to have these two big, they were like maybe 6-inch floppy disks.
Yeah.
And it had 2 drives in it.
Yeah.
And then the drives, you'd have to put like the program went in one drive, and then the data disk would go in the other, and you'd have to move the data disks depending what program you were. Then the program, you'd either have a general ledger, payroll, inventory, or I think that was it, payroll.
Okay.
In fact, I took you to Atlanta, Georgia, and we delivered one down there. I don't know if you remember that.
What were you doing down there? Was it for software?
Yeah, I went down
really?
there to teach him how to run the IMSI.
Really?
And the thing cost $20,000.
Oh, Jesus. The computer.
The computer and
man.
the software and everything.
Oh, man.
The software was the big thing because you didn't have Peachtree and all the stuff you got now.
Yeah. Well, then you brought home like a smaller PC, like a clone, like a 3, like it couldn't even do Windows at that time. You had it was a green.
Well, that Windows wasn't even out. Really.
Wasn't even out.
But they. Multiplan, maybe a worksheet was called Multiplan.
I don't know. I can't remember the software. It may have been before Lotus.
It was called Multiplan at one time. And then I first learned Multiplan. Then I learned Lotus, and then they went to Microsoft. Well, I was kind of lost originally.
Yeah.
So I used to use the crutch. The crutch being, I could type in the commands because I used to use the keys a lot. I could type in the commands in Excel and convert it to Lotus, and then it would tell me it would show me on the screen what to do
in Excel.
It would drag it. And now the new software that's on the computer you got me now, it doesn't have that. I don't know how to get that help because I could write a macro in Lotus, but I can't write a macro in
Excel.
Yeah, it's
like a
it's
formula
not as
or
easy. Yeah, no, something to make it do something.
Oh yeah,
I can do simple things like
right.
compare this in column A with column B and tell
Sure.
me if they're equal, greater, or less.
Sure.
And make it print or not print in that cell. But what I can't do is say, okay, after you make this entry and I hit return, then I want you to go to box C7. I can't do that. I could do it in Lotus.
All right.
They were very short, very easy to understand, but macros for me is confusing on
Excel.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft's kind of got their own way of doing things.
Yeah, but they should make that easier. I've tried to go on the internet. There's a gal that has a site. There's tutorials, but they start out simple, but then you get, like they might have 10 lessons in there. You get to about the 3rd lesson, and then they lose you because they use all these terms that you don't understand.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Well, yeah, but you're an accountant, So
Yeah.
you're not necessarily a programmer or developer, so Microsoft is no longer developed. They finally released a small business accounting package for free. Microsoft, I think it's
Oh, really?
small business accounting, yeah.
I didn't
It's a
know that.
Microsoft business accounting package that's meant to kind of compete with a QuickBooks. I don't know if it'd be Peachtree
QuickBooks
level.
is pretty easy. The only thing about QuickBooks, you have to be careful with QuickBooks.
Yeah,
I think they
don't
made
like QuickBooks at all.
they made some changes to it where it's not as easy to make changes.
Yeah.
But in QuickBooks, you can change any entry, which kind of screws it up because it'll go back and changes everything from the, like if you were in 2007, so if you change a transaction back in 2005, that change
It's-
carries all the way through,
Yeah.
but incorrectly.
Right. We've learned that with QuickBooks, it's probably one of the most unusable
What
pieces
about
of
Quicken?
software.
I don't use Quicken.
Quicken's for home, isn't
Yeah,
it? Largely.
Quicken, yeah, and it supposedly transfers pretty good with if you use TurboTax.
Yeah.
I use TurboTax. It's made me lazy though, because I use TurboTax. It's kind of like when calculators first came out.
Yeah.
When calculators came out, the concern was, and I think rightfully so, and I think it's true, is people then forgot how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide in their head.
Hmm.
So because you just pick up this little $9 calculator and boom, 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 boom.
But it wasn't a $9 calculator.
Oh,
back
my
then.
first one?
The HP.
I had one about
block HP?
Mine was called a Facet, F-A-C-I-T.
CIT,
Bought
yeah.
it when I went to college in Michigan,
Fair State.
Fair State University now. But it was about maybe
It was a brick.
4 inches. Yeah, about
Yeah.
the size of a brick.
Yeah,
That's
a brick.
true.
It was a gray brick. It had
Yeah.
green
And it-
LCD.
You could charge it up, but
Mhm.
all it could do was it could add, subtract, multiply, and divide. But
Do
not,
It do percentages, which is
well,
like
yeah,
a
but you had to do
division.
them on your own. But it didn't
Right.
have that. It didn't have those functions.
Right.
It only had the 4 functions.
Right.
That was it. I mean, and it didn't even have you couldn't even have a constant in it like you can now.
Like a memory.
But I remember taking it to school and everybody getting all around me because it was the state of the art. I was the only one in the whole school that had one. Oh wow! That was kind of cool.
So we went to PCs largely because of the accounting background or everything that you were
You
doing.
mean at home?
Yeah, at home.
I wa-
Because you had a PC at home.
Well, you see, you're not the only one that sees the future.
Okay, but
I brought it home because I knew it was the wave of the future. I knew everything eventually would be done on the computer. So I thought, well, if I can't figure it out, maybe the kids can. So I got it and encouraged guys to play with it.
and we couldn't even get online with it. I've written about that before, talked about it before. You couldn't. We didn't have a modem. Remember, I had to go to college and come back and install a modem.
Well, we
in
didn't
there.
know what they were. I mean,
Right.
we
Well, there was no applications for it. There
Right.
were local BBSs you could dial into,
I mean,
but
that
there was
was
no
before
internet.
email
Right.
and
There's
all
nothing
that.
like that.
That was before Gore invented it.
Right. It was long before Gore invented it. So when I was showing you tonight, I mean, you're an accountant, so you've seen
Yeah.
the accounting packages.
Yeah.
You're up to date on all this stuff.
Kinda.
When I showed you numbers,
Yeah.
which is Mac's version or Apple's version of an Excel or a spreadsheet
Yeah.
application, what'd you think?
I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the templates, but I didn't quite. I'd have to take a class or something to learn how to where you could set up that personal budget template.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what was a neat feature I thought I could use a lot was that thing down in the left-hand corner. You could just highlight all the numbers, and it would give you it would total it for you, and then it did an average, and it give you the mean, and it give you the high and the low, or something like that.
Yeah.
That was kind of a cool feature.
That
I
really
could think
blew
of
me
things to
away.
use it. Yeah, I
Just
like
because
that.
you didn't have to read anything.
You didn't have to
It was
do
just
that.
right there.
See, in both Lotus and Microsoft, you have to put the formula at sum
Yep.
or
Yep.
at average or whatever
Equals.
it is.
I think it's equals average or equals
Right.
sum.
And
in
they don't make
Excel.
it easy to find that stuff. I
No.
mean, I go through the help, and it's like pulling teeth to find what you want.
Well, I haven't had a chance to really get into numbers, but on the surface, it's a basic spreadsheet application. You
Yeah.
input a few numbers, do a few calculations. Formulas are likely at this point not to be as complex,
Right.
but I think from a design perspective, even as a simplicity perspective, from my point of view, it looked pretty straightforward. I don't know how formulas necessarily translate.
Well, I think it was the same as. I mean, you could format it. It looked the same as as Windows.
fundamentally, I mean, it's a spreadsheet application.
Yeah, I mean, you got
you'd use it for
columns and
numbers.
rows.
They've got the templates that
Yeah,
have.
see, that's the same template right there. That budget.
Yep. They've got one set up for mortgage, loan
But if
comparison,
you
dinner
pull one
party.
of those up, I'll show you what I mean.
What about an expense report
Okay.
or an invoice?
Well, that'd be kind of easy one, but that's okay.
Right.
But see, I don't know how they pull all that stuff in, or if they're actually in boxes and they just
Well,
See, like when you
yeah,
highlight on that, how
Yep.
it shows the rows and
Yep.
numbers? Well, they've taken this from a worksheet someplace and put
no,
it in here.
but this is the worksheet.
Okay,
It's
but
not.
go
It's
up
not
around this
embedded.
one then.
You're thinking,
But see, now it's the same row, so it can't be. It's A and B. So now,
but it's
it's A and B.
You're thinking traditionally with spreadsheets. I think the way I understand the way numbers works is these spreadsheets are actually embedded inside a spreadsheet.
Yeah,
document,
I understand
right.
that, but that's a spreadsheet. That's a spreadsheet.
But it's not
There's three
external.
diff-
You're thinking like Olay, or you're thinking like
Yeah, but it's three different spreadsheets
Sure.
that are put into one.
Sure. In a traditional sense, if I were to go and say File, New, and just choose a blank spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So this
that's
is more of a
traditional.
traditional
Well, why
view.
Is that?
What are you looking for?
Why is that gray?
Probably because that's the column that's selected.
Uh-uh.
You don't
See
think
how
so?
that's gray and that's gray?
Could be the home row. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it yet.
Oh, it's
But-
highlighted some for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, how complex the functions are necessarily in numbers, but like you're just from your gut instinct, does this look like something
Yeah,
that's
pretty
going to
much
pull you
the
in?
same. I mean, it's the same. I think that they use a little bit different titles.
Yeah. I'm looking in here to see if I can find any specific formulas, and I'm not really seeing anything.
Well, see, all those are the same.
Function.
Your center, left, right, that's all the same. Your spell check's the same.
There you go. You've got all the functions.
Yeah, there's you go. That's,
Your traditional date and time, financial,
yeah,
all. So you got your absolute, accent,
yeah.
all the classic ones. In fact,
Wonder how
it
you
looks
do
in
a
here,
macro on
there's a
that.
formula editor. So it looks like you can actually build it. And I'm not exactly sure how that exactly works. But the nice thing is that this version comes with videos, video tutorials. The actual CD
Oh, really?
comes with the video tutorials.
Oh, but you have to put the CD in.
When you install it, it should actually have it. In fact, I go to Help, Video Tutorials, and if they're not here, it's probably going to send me to the web. Yep, it sends me to the web. So they're on apple.com for free. They don't make you buy extra tutorials to learn the software. Apple's form and function is to try to make it so that you don't even have to read anything just to get the basic functionality out of it. But just the overall view, I mean, and seeing the way that you've used spreadsheets, when I saw this, I mean, it looks fundamentally it looks the same, but
Yeah, but I wonder why that is.
not sure.
Different color.
It's the only thing I can imagine it's home row or home column, A and 1.
Oh, there's got to be a reason why that.
Oh, my dad, he's just such a curious user, using accounting software over the ages. When you started, they had abacuses, right?
Yeah. Don't forget the first computer was invented in Ames, Iowa.
That's right, the ENIAC.
ENIAC.
Yep.